You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality art, interviews, music and hot topics. Hosted by dini-mussolini and co-hosted by Banditti. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at least 1 hour after each show at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. We welcome all. Enjoy the show.
Yo, it feels so good to be back with you guys once again. So one time for my people who are indigos, starseeds, and 2 times for my people who are vegans. We are averaging over 34,000 plus listeners and over 888,000 downloads worldwide, and we've been at this for 3 solid years. I appreciate all you guys who have been rocking with the kid on this journey, and we are still growing, baby. It is all because of you, most definitely. We are the people who have dedicated their lives to music, spirituality, art, movies, literature, and research in every aspect, and we want to allow you an opportunity to tell your story. Man, we've had celebrities on the show, from Grammy Award-winning artists to nominees to actors, comedians, technology geniuses, from visual artists to authors, professors, and aliens, or people who think they're aliens. It doesn't matter though who you are or where you come from. Come on our show and talk to us. So check it out. To book an interview or just to share a real cool story, email me at vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. I am passionate about what I do, just as passionate about what you do, and together, yes, together, we can get your voice heard by the people who should hear it. So let's create something incredible. And with that, hello out there, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Vigilantes Radio. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in and being a part of our audience family. If you like information on how to call in, ask questions, or speak to our guests, you can always dial 701-801-9813 or hop in the mix directly from my website, which is onlyonemediagroup.com. Scroll over to the Vigilantes Radio tab and slap that, and you'll be right here in the mix and in the chat room with all of us. So feel free to shoot over some questions to ask our guests while they are here, but only if time allows. And as always, all episodes are available for free download. You can grab that from Spreaker.com/onlyonemediagroup, iTunes, YouTube, or the app called Podcast Addict. And that goes for every single show that we've ever aired.
Well, tonight's episode is the Cale Bonderman of the Gravity Well interview, and I'm your host, dini-mussolini. And I just want to tell you guys to add kindness. When interacting with other people, keep this in mind. They are people with lives, stories, families, hopes, challenges, and feelings. For your own sake and for the sake of everyone, go out of your way to be considerate. Do all you can to be kind, especially when you're not met with kindness. Offer your own kindness in return. How cool is that? Instead of trying to get the last word, seek to give the first smile. That is the challenge for the week. Kindness does not get used up. In fact, the more it is expressed, the more of it there is, and the world will benefit from all you can give. You may have every reason to be angry, disappointed, impatient, and sarcastic. Yet, kindness is almost always the better choice. Better believe it. If the world seems too harsh, rude, inconsiderate, do something positive about it. And here's what you can do. Add your own kindness every opportunity that you get.
All right, so there's a bunch of you guys online tonight, and I know it's not for Dini. No way. It has to be for Cale and the Gravity Well. So without any further ado, let's kick off this interview. All right, so Vigilantes Radio interviews go beyond the music, the blog, the books, the movies, and into the minds of the people who create it. From researching our interviewees, relentlessly mining for details, and listening, reading, or watching everything we can, Our interviews are designed to bring out the best answers possible through thought-provoking questions that have real substance. And our guest tonight is Cale Bonderman and the Gravity Well. So with that, let's welcome them to the show. Hey guys, you're alive. How is it going and how are you feeling?
Hi, good to be here. Feeling pretty good. Can you hear me?
All right, we can hear you.
Great. It's actually just me. My name is Cale. Yeah, and it's wonderful to be here, yeah. Just like the vegetable.
Yeah, all right, that's cool. Are you perhaps a vegan?
No, I don't have the willpower, I'm sorry to say. If you can believe it, I was actually named after a race car driver. It didn't have anything to do with the plant.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
there was a NASCAR driver named Cale Yarborough. And that's all I really know about that, actually.
Well, that's cool either way it goes. Well, hello and welcome, man. You definitely found the right person to interview you. The Black Keys is one of my two all-time favorite bands to listen to at some times. I see them listed in your influences, but I can also hear it in your music a bit. And I could see people rush into all kinds of comparisons to bands you yourself have listed as your influences. But my question is there a difference between playing inside of an influence and copying a style, in your opinion?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Although I will also say that line is kind of blurry and maybe a little subjective. You know, like, what was it? A couple of years ago, remember that song Blurred Lines?
Yes.
Yeah, Robin Thicke. Sued by the estate of Marvin Gaye because Marvin Gaye was like, that's one of our bass line. And Robin Thicke tried to say, no, I'm just trying to be like in the same style as Marvin Gaye. Well, that's, yeah. I think that it is kind of a fine line. And I think that the difference between kind of like being influenced by and trying to sound like an artist is the difference between kind of being like, okay, what could I do to make this song sound like those songs versus what would I do, or what would, say, Dan Auerbach, if I was trying to sound like the Black Keys, like you mentioned. If I was writing a song, what would Dan Auerbach do right here? And the idea there is that, like, you kind of get to know the person behind the music, not just the music, you know, because it all comes from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, then it's impossible to keep yourself out of it. And if the little bit of you is in it, then I don't really think that it's, you know, I think that's more on the lines of playing in the, or being influenced by, than playing in the style of.
Right.
You know?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, though, does that lead to a struggle for identity at all?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that, because I was like, oh, man.
That's got to be, like the hardest thing about music, you know, is like finding yourself.
Yeah.
Because, if you think about it, you know, I don't know if this is like an American thing or it's just like a natural tendency, but everybody goes, you know, oh, I want to be the next Clash, or I want to be the next Taylor Swift or something. But you always reference it like the position you want to be in terms of somebody else that is. And you kind of like lose this idea that you really can't be those persons, and you shouldn't want to be those persons, because you don't need two of anybody. You know, we don't need two Taylor Swifts running around. We have one Taylor Swift. One Taylor Swift is great. But it's really hard. And I think that it's something that, as a pretty new and pretty young songwriter, is something that I've struggled with a lot. Recently, I've you know, for example, the first album, all the stuff you've heard, is pretty rock and roll, and a lot of that has to do with the people I was with when I recorded that album. But I've come to realize since then that I'm not really quite as rock and rolly as all that, and I have other interests in kind of a wider variety of genres, and that's cool. You know, you don't have to feel pigeonholed into doing your thing. Your thing is whatever you're doing, and I think a lot of that identity crisis comes from a crisis of confidence in yourself. You know, like, I can't be this way because, like, who am I? I'm nobody. But everybody starts out as nobody, you know? You got to start somewhere.
That's true. That's true. And going back to saying, like, just imagine listening to, like, your favorite artist for 20 years, like, religiously, and then soon you start picking up different traits, and you're in the studio and you sound like your favorite artist. And it's like, okay, so how do I separate the influence from, you know, my own personal identity? And I think that's where a lot of artists have a real problem. And it may take longer, but I think a few get over it over time because, you know, they're just trying to find their footing.
I mean, it's kind of like anything, you know. I think there's this misconception that art and music is something that springs kind of like eternal from you, like the urge to create and to, you know, come out with new stuff and do these things all the time. And the idea that, like, writer's block is, or you know, musician's block, whatever, songwriter's block, whatever you want to call it, is something that, like, afflicts you, that stops that from happening, I think is actually not really the way it works. I think it's more along the lines of, like, it kind of happens when it happens, and you feel the way that you feel at certain points. But, you know, just like you're not always happy, or you're not always, you know, tired, you're not always in the mood to play music, and you're not always in the mood to kind of be that creative force. I might have strayed a little bit off of the prompt.
It's cool. It's cool. We're here to conversate.
You know what I mean?
Find out more.
Yeah. What am I reminded of? I'm reminded of, Fleet Foxes, one of my favorite bands, and they are coming out with a new album in June, which I'm so pumped for. But, you know, it's been their last release was in, like, 2000. I'm going to get this wrong. I want to say it was 12, but it could have been any time from 2011 to 2014. I think it was, it was definitely before that. Anyway, it's been a long time, and the kind of the force behind that band, Robin Pecknold, decided that he wasn't really in the place to keep just making his music, and that he wanted to get a better education in it, so he went to school, and that's why they've been on hiatus for at least 4 years.
Yeah.
Which I think is really amazing and admirable, you know, that he especially, like, knows himself and has enough confidence in himself to take time out of this thing that ostensibly he is, you know? Mm-hmm. Because you're not, it's not that you do music, you are a musician. So when you aren't making music, I think it gets talked about in terms of, like, identity crises, you know?
Yeah.
That's got to be hard.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, no lie, man, you are nailing the sound through and through. The opening of So Many Lashes definitely is pretty much what I'm hoping for anytime I push play on someone's track.
Yes. Oh, you're too good to me.
Nah, man, it was perfect. It was perfect.
Thank you.
I always found, like, that alternative rock can be one of the most interesting genres based on the simple fact that many people love the music. And this goes back to what you said, that you're not really rockish, but, you know, 95% of people don't even know that they're listening to alternative rock, or the way that rocks break down into, like, so many subgenres. But, you know, according to like the studio players who were in the studio with you, that just happened to be the particular sound that was produced. And sometimes it's against the grain of mainstream. Do you feel like that's a gamble, though, in today's internet world?
It sort of depends. I don't think, like, when was the last time, like, an alternative artist blew up the spot? I'm sure I say that from a point of ignorance, because I'm sure there's many that are pretty huge within, especially their own scenes right now. I just can't think of any. But, you know, certainly if you want to be like the top megastar, you know, sell enough albums to have somebody come and ask you to play the biggest festivals and the biggest arenas all over the planet, maybe that's not a great move. But I actually think that the internet is, I mean, it's the great equalizer, you know? Like, anybody can use the internet, anybody can use the internet for promotion, and it means that you can take a chance on the other people in the world, you know? That regardless of what you sound like, and if you sound kind of a little strange or a little bit not exactly in the norm, somebody out there actually might like your stuff. In fact, lots of people might like your stuff. And this is like a great delivery method. I remember, you know, when I was first starting out, reading an article, I think maybe in Pitchfork, about the idea that what the internet has allowed people to do is cut out one of the final middlemen. They don't have to get marketing people anymore. So if you're like a young, cash-strapped artist, but you have a mic and you know how to use Pro Tools and you have the internet, then there you go. You are your own label and your own producer. And even if you only reach, you know, a couple hundred people, first of all, that's an amazing accomplishment. Don't belittle that at all. And then second of all, no, you're not paying money to anybody else. So it's possible to kind of support yourself and do what you love, even without, you know, being that super well-known band. So I guess that's what I mean, you know, like, it depends on what you're looking for. Are you going to get famous? Wildly famous? Rock and roll famous? No, probably not. But on the other hand, that's probably not going to happen to you anyway. So, you know, you might as well take a chance.
Yeah, take a shot. All right, man, with that being said, though, what is your definition of success through music for you?
Yeah, I know. Ooh, man, the hard questions.
Yes.
You know, it's sort of a nebulous. I wish I had like a better answer for this, because like, is it that I want to be able to support myself solely through my making music? Like, yeah, that's an admirable goal. I would love to make some money off of this, which, you know, currently is not really in the cards. Is it that I want to have like fans? I would love it if I knew that people really enjoyed this. If I was doing something that people actually wanted, that they were excited about, that would be, and not just because, you know, like, a lot of the people who have been so good and so supportive to me are my friends and my family, and that's how it is when you start out. But to know that somehow, like, this sort of a wonky stuff I do and I started doing, you know, in my college dorm room, is affecting somebody that I've never met and may never meet elsewhere on the planet, is kind of it's a humbling thought, and I think that's probably more along the lines of what I'm looking for, which is also a convenient answer, because there's, unless I, you know, really blow up after this interview, you know, fingers crossed, is something that I will not find out, you know?
Okay.
And it means you can keep striving.
Yeah.
Then there's always, you know, the musician's answer, which is that to write a song that I'm really proud of. because, maybe you can relate to this. Like, every time I work on new material, I'll kind of finish it. I'll listen to it 30 times. I'll be like, oh, man, this is great. Like, this moment is great. Everything's great. And then 4 weeks afterwards, I might still think that it's pretty good, but all the flaws that I couldn't see before, that I didn't think about before, that weren't really bothering me before, start to come back up, and that little voice in the back of your head goes, no, it's not, hey, it's okay, it's not good enough. It's still not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I've been there before. Still there, actually.
Yeah, but I think that's, I think that's what it's supposed to be. Because if that voice ever goes away, then, like, what else would you be making music for?
Yeah. All right. So we know that rough times, tragedy, the lack of support, heartbreak can often lead to some of the most brilliant works of art and music that we as humans can create. What do you think about that?
Generally speaking, I think that's a completely bulletproof sentence. I also think, though, that I think that sentence is perfectly true. I also think that the opposite is also true, which is that sometimes great works of art come from nowhere at all, or they come from places of great joy. And that the artist as a suffering agent is great for making art about suffering, which is often considered is often in the realm of the kind of sacred and admired, because everybody suffers.
Yeah.
But some people seem to suffer in a more relatable way. And I think that when you're in a low place, you look towards the arts, you look towards painting and music, and just to know that there are and have been others who have experienced something akin to what you are going through. And that is very powerful. And there's people who build their lives on singing extremely heartbreaking stuff, like a lot of the folk singers, like Paul Simon, Leonard Cohen, did this kind of thing. I think there is something to be said, however, on just kind of I think there's also something to be said for music and art that is made from other kinds of places. And I think that it's not necessarily always the doom and gloom and the drive of sadness that produces great art. I think that if it was, the world would be kind of a miserable place, because we rely on artists. These are the things that give, I think, the life worth living. These are the kind of expressions of the soul. And if the only way to express yourself was through pain and sadness, then people would be absolutely dejected all the time, and everything would suck.
Oh yeah. So since we're on like the nature of music, would you consider your music to be political in any way?
No. So, not to malign not to malign anybody whose interests don't agree with my own. There was a moment there after Trump won the election where I sat down and I was like, all right, I'm going to write some protest songs. Like, this is,
oh boy,
this is, yeah. And I immediately, about 10 hours after that, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. This is terrible, because I think that I think that politics as a matter of life is something that could definitely go into your music. And I'm not even necessarily going to say that it's not in mine. Certainly, it's not a conscious or particularly active element. But I also think that songs that are particularly political, that is an entire ability by itself, which I do not have. writing a good protest song, writing a good, like, anti-establishment punk tune
Mm-hmm.
is for people with, like, a rare ability to say those things very, very honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
And I could totally, if I was talking to you about politics, because I read the news kind of obsessively, actually, and if I was talking to you about politics, I could totally go on and on and on about this, but I could not write it in a song. I would sing, whatever it is, fuck the man, and just kind of just melt out of embarrassment. I couldn't possibly, especially because a lot of the shows I play right now, my girlfriend comes to, and if I was to look her in the eye and try to sing like like an anti-establishment, down with the pigs kind of thing, I would just never be able to talk to her again.
Yeah.
I do think that politics, I do think that the tradition of politics in songs and having songs that are particularly political is both a time-honored tradition and a very important one. And it is in times of kind of along with all the sadness stuff we were just talking about, in times of social and civil unrest, again, you look to the artists. You look to the people who can do that channeling, Like, why is Bob Dylan one of the most revered folk singers and, the voice of America in the 60s and the 70s? Well, it's because he could do that thing. He could sing those words, and he could sing them completely honestly, and people could recognize that, and it wouldn't feel like they were just kind of trying to be contrarian. It felt like additive, like somebody was putting a voice to their feelings, and it was becoming something greater. And they couldn't do it alone, and he couldn't do it without them. But together, the power.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool, right. Bob.
Yeah. So let's chat about Gravity Well for a minute.
Yeah.
Tell me about unity and band solidarity. You found yourselves and the sound that you want to make, but what do you hope will be the bond that will keep the five of you guys together making music over time?
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you just a quick backstory here, which is that I did this first album with a band that is not my own band. I did this album with a band called Lion Eyes. They're a great band, and if you want real rock and roll, they are one of the last bastions of true blue hardcore rock and roll, along with Clutch. They play together a lot. So I did this album with these guys, and then afterwards, and they live in D.C., so afterwards I was in New York, and I needed a band. So really I just kind of, what happened was I got extremely lucky. I put out calls for auditions on Craigslist and some other, like, job advertising online posts, and I got these 3 guys to show up. Yutaka and Brian and Anthony, and they, at first, who knows if this was going to work out? Everybody showed up. Mostly everybody knew their parts, and they all seemed like, not jerks, which is basically the lowest bar you can set.
Yeah. But
it is kind of a mandatory bar, in as far as I'm concerned. Oh. And we played one show together, and immediately afterwards, the guy that I had played that show with, I just happened to say to him that I needed a keyboardist. He was like, "Hey, I know a keyboardist," and that was it. All of a sudden, the band was together, and that's Jake, by the way, so that everybody is named on air, and since then, it's actually been kind of surprising to me that these 5 complete strangers came together and have managed to form a pretty working social bond where, you know, everybody seems to be excited to come in and to play. And we talk, we're friends, you know, we've gotten to this point where it is kind of beyond just 5 guys showing up to do a job. And I think that's very important, because you can't really, with something so personal as music, I don't think you can really play your best unless you are comfortable, unless you feel like the people around you have your back and that you know them, you know, like it's the difference between having to like count off to start a song and just being able to kind of hit it. Which is kind of like a low-key superpower that develops after a couple months. It's pretty crazy, actually. But you've seen all your favorite bands do it, you know? Everybody just kind of goes, they kind of like look at each other as like maybe like a head nod, and then bang, they're in. And that's the kind of, I mean, like, I can't imagine really trying to run this ship without individuals, you know? Like, if I had faceless goons that showed up and played drums and played bass, that would be terrible. Because it's, you know, music, even when you're making it, is not, or I think perhaps especially when you're making it, it's not meant for you, but it's meant to be shared. And even if you're just sharing it amongst the people who are involved in it, it becomes so much greater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I knew, I actually at the time quit my day job to form this band, because I thought it would be such a pain, but I knew it needed to be done, and I thought it would be sort of so important. And then of course it actually turned out to be, I think also this is not usual, but it did turn out to be fairly easy. You know, all the first guys I asked to come see are all still members of the band.
Cool.
Yeah. I wish they were here right now, but they have lives, I suppose. This is my life, and they all wanted to do something else.
Well, that's how it goes sometimes.
Actually, that's not quite fair. I don't know if it was originally explained that everybody was invited.
Yeah.
But they would love to join you some other time, I'm sure, if you'll have us back.
Sure thing. Anytime.
Thanks, Dini.
Anytime.
Oh, man,
All right.
This has been great so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you got?
So, we all know what we like about music, and the songs from the Age of Envy are right where I'm at.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. So, Cale, a song like Charming Devil just slays, if you can say that about music. I don't know, I've heard somebody say slays, and I thought, hey, maybe I can use it to sound real cool by saying that word, but
I think you can use it.
Okay, that's awesome then.
Yeah, I think you can.
Okay, so you can't deny the crunch there in the guitars, and from what I've heard vocally, this is a very convincing track for you. This sounds like you're supposed to be there in that genre, but I'm wondering just how comfortable you feel as a vocalist.
You know, if I actually really had it my way, I currently play the rhythm in this band, and if I really had it my way, I wouldn't do that. Because I think my real strength is in my vocals, and I think that I have a lot of ability there, which is impeded, especially live, by two things. One, it is just harder to play and sing at the same time. But just because it's easier to have a 5-person band than a 6-person band, I haven't gotten another guitarist. Plus, it's like a good thing to be. You can kind of, if you have a guitar, you don't have to really be a front man. I had somebody tell me this once. You know, you don't have to get up there and like Freddie Mercury and like bedazzle the crowd, even though you ostensibly should be doing that. You can kind of use it as a little bit of a crutch. But so that's one thing, and then the other thing is that in the kind of music that I've been doing and in the kind of setups, the kind of places we've been playing, it's really hard to sing quietly, or more quietly, rather. And the difference there is just that you can do some more dynamic stuff, and you can have some more kind of like interesting or softer or melodic or whatever it is, feels and tones to your vocals if you can do that. But this band is just so loud that we haven't, if we had a better sound system somewhere, that might be possible. But at the moment, it's mostly, me getting up there and belting. And I love doing that. It's very, very satisfying. Kind of in like a primal level, like you're almost up there like screaming, like, hell yeah. And it makes your blood boil and you get the crowd running, and it's great. So I'm definitely not knocking it. I'm just saying that. I would say that I would love to do some acoustic sets sometimes, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, you know any good places?
Yeah, I actually do. I have to get with you after the show, send you a list.
Oh, yeah, please.
Around the New York area.
Yeah.
And beyond.
Yeah, exactly. We've been kind of, struggling to break out of this area, but hopefully this year is going to be our year. We've also only been a band since October, so,
Yeah,
it's,
okay. That's still fairly new. Still has to bring the smell on.
Really do. Actually, the 1 year release anniversary of Age of Envy is on Sunday. Is that right?
Awesome.
No, it isn't. It's on Monday.
Okay. So I watched the music video, and about how far as visual representation goes on screen, what's important for you to show the world?
Ooh, damn, that's another good one. I should have prepped better. I didn't realize you'd be hitting me with all these mind bombs.
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, I should have known. Well, at that time, a lot of what I wanted to get across was that I wasn't necessarily in control of what was going on, which, hopefully that did. A lot of that music video kind of stemmed out of the necessity to make one with fairly limited time and budget. And I was kind of thinking like, okay, well, what can we do here that would be entertaining and funny and all that jazz? If I'm honest, I wasn't super looking forward for a way to like represent a piece of my soul. But in that way, I might have also inadvertently done so, right? Like, I think that, sorry. So, I mean, I think that visuals is another medium that I'm not all that well versed in. And I can think of things that strike me, movies that are particularly they look good. Or, paintings, comics, whatever it is. But it's not really how I think. I think more auditorially. The stuff that gets stuck in my head tends to be like song phrases or like spoken word, like a particular sentence of a spoken word. So it's kind of like it's actually something that I've only really started thinking about fairly recently because the need for more music videos is coming up, which maybe we'll get to later. But, and I had somebody ask me, actually I think even a better representation for this is I was asking my friend for artwork and she was like, okay, well, what do you want this artwork to be? And this is for a potential new release. And I looked at her and I went, I have no idea. In fact, what I said was, I'm going to send you the songs, and I want you to think about it and just tell me what it is you're thinking about. And, you know, in that way, that's a little bit of a dodge, right? Like, then I don't have to really put in that work. But on the other hand, I kind of think that it's sort of the case where I'll know it when I see it. And I can't really explain why I feel that way, but that's sort of like the vibe I get. Sort of like how when I'm writing a song, more and more recently I've been delving into, you know, writing my own bass parts and writing my own keys. Awesome. But every time I do, I take it to the band and I let them mess around with it too, because I'm kind of the idea that if I am a songwriter whose primary instrument is vocals and some guitar, I'm probably not going to write as good a key part as my keyboardist. Maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of default to this idea that not that you shouldn't try, just that you should always get professional opinions. Right. Which I guess brings me back to the visual thing. I don't necessarily always know if, you know, should a music video always represent what you are trying to convey in a song? Mm-hmm. Or should it be something that could maybe add an element to a song so that somebody who'd heard the song before and then watched the music video went, oh, suddenly I understand this in a new light? Or does that change your original message too much? Like, these are the sort of questions that I sort of think about, and I look at and I go, man, I am totally unqualified for this.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe that'll change. On the other hand, I've only got this one music video, and I had one music video that we half shot and then the whole thing fell apart. So I don't think that really counts. Yeah. That was a nightmare.
Yeah. But the first video, I thought it was pretty cool. I did.
Thank you.
I did. You know, the part where you fishing with the stick, that was just hilarious. You just got frustrated.
Well, thank you.
Stick in the water.
Yes. So the story here is that basically I'm signed to this record label called Made in the Shade Records, and they were based out of Denver, but now they're based out of LA. Mm-hmm. And it was my sister, who's infinitely cooler than I am, was a roadie for Vans Warped Tour for years. And in 2015, what she decided, my twin sister, sorry. Sorry, I'm sitting here in my mother's apartment, and she's gesticulating and making snide comments every now and again. She says no, she's not. Anyway, my twin sister started a record label in 2015, and she asked me if I wanted to join it, which is how this whole thing got started, because I was kind of like, man, if I don't do this, I'll probably never have a better opportunity. So I did. And in April of 2016, I was working a job at a news company, and I got a call from her that said, hey, what do you think about quitting? And I said, I think that's a terrible idea. And she said, okay, but what if we need you to do something during the week and you're unavailable? And I was like what? And she goes, we need you to go to Costa Rica and shoot a music video. Because, of course, what had happened was one of her friends is a cinematographer and was down there shooting a music video for a different band. So, for the price of airfare, we could get down there and have them shoot something for us But it also meant that, I had a little more than 3 days, I think, to plan something to do. And we had no budget. Yeah. So I had to do something that you could just kind of shoot. And to prove this point, like the girl in that music video is the cinematographer. Like, she's the director. But we needed like another person. Yeah. And she was the only one there.
Hey,
so
innovative.
We ended up but I locked myself in my room with my girlfriend and my girlfriend's roommate, and we just sat and we listened to So Many Lashes until eventually we had this idea, and I went down there and we shot it, and I think it turned out pretty well. Again, I'm not going to claim that this is the most insightful, inspiring, most emotion eliciting music video, but I do think it's kind of fun. And I also think that sometimes that's, as we were talking about earlier, sometimes that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
This stuff should be fun.
Oh yeah, every day. So
every day.
All right, so like the first and only time I've ever seen the Black Keys was in Chicago, and the set just absolutely blew my mind. Yeah, man.
Where at?
Kid you not. I can't remember the venue, man. Like, I used to do like kind of what your sister do, except that I was working with Russell Simmons and was the road manager. So we snuck off in Chicago one time to see this band. Not Russell Simmons, but a few of the roadies and other managers, stagehands. So we went off to see this show, and they kept it like very simple. This was like 2004, I believe. Elaborate lights, but no real major effects. Nothing out of the ordinary, completely letting like all the music speak for itself. And I think like starting out, that can be hard for a band in a live setting, even though like the Black Keys were like super popular at that point in time.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes live bands, like newer bands, have to deal with, poor sound mix, no lighting at all, no ability to add effects or visuals due to finances or simple restrictions from, the club or the city. But suppose for a second, none of that was a factor for you and you could do whatever the heaven you wanted to on stage. What's the ideal setup look like for you to play the best show you could ever play?
Oh, man. Well, so last year, Golden Voice, the company that does Coachella every year, threw this concert that was affectionately dubbed Old Cella, and it was 2 weekends, right? Maybe you heard about it. It was I think it was in October, and it was 6 artists, and it was Paul McCartney and Neil Young and Bob Dylan and The Who and the Rolling Stones and Roger Waters. So it was like 6 of the last remaining like rock stars. And for 2 weekends, each one of them played 2 a night, each one for like 3 hours. And it was incredible. But Roger Waters, I liked Pink Floyd, but I had never been a huge Pink Floyd fanatic, or even, that into Pink Floyd up until I saw this concert. And it's actually, it's a memory that is now very dear to me, and also pretty sad, because if I'm convinced of any one thing, it's that I will never, ever play a show as good as Roger Waters played that show. And partly that is because there's a number of different factors. So let's say that you had the best setup ever. Well, that might look a lot like what this was, which was basically one enormous outdoor screen. I have no idea how they assembled this thing. It was monstrous. And it could, like when it lit up, you could see this entire sea of people, which was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet long and wide, and then had huge balconies on either side. It was like, you know, something out of like a CGI film where the fantasy king is like being crowned and his millions of subjects are around him to see it. That's kind of what it looked like. It was amazing. And he had, Roger Waters, he had all these amazingly trippy visuals, which were astounding. But then it kind of got even more, as it progressed, it got more and more real. And what I mean is that, like, it got more and more, like, involved with the crowd. So they had all these speaker stacks placed every 100 feet or so, these giant poles with all these speakers. And he would start running sound effects that would, like, bounce from speaker to speaker, so it was, like, localized, you know, and you got the actual impression that, like, say, police sirens were closing in on you. He has this, Roger Waters is very well known for this particular one, but he has this gigantic pig balloon that floats above the crowd and is remote controlled and, like, you know, like, sort of like kind of like the Hindenburg constantly, like, going down over the audience, just sort of wafts over the crowd. This particular pig had been outfitted with all these anti-Trump slogans, because at the time he hadn't won. Though I'm sure, for all I know, Roger Waters still has the same pig running around.
Yeah.
And you know, like, he just kept playing and playing and playing. The songs kept getting somehow, like, more poignant and more emotional, and the setting just kept getting wilder and crazier. And then finally, at the, like, 3-hour 15 mark, the whole thing started blaring sirens and red lights, and then the stage actually transformed and turned into the Battersea Power Station from the cover of Pink Floyd's album Animals.
Oh, wow.
And my jaw just, like, hit the floor, you know, like, the amount of time it must have taken to set up this particular effect, and also just how unique and specific it was. Like, that's the kind of thing that you have to sit there and you have to actually mastermind, you know. That is something that I would have considered to be nearly impossible. And it honestly, like, changed my entire sort of mindset in terms of what I ever considered to be possible on a stage. Now, you couldn't do that unless you had a stage like this or like a big arena or something like that. But if I was going to do, if money and space was not an issue, I'd like to do something that was more crowd involved, you know, because I think that at the end of the day, why you want to go and see a concert is you want to be involved with a band, you know, like, you love these people, you love these songs, it makes you feel something. And even though you don't necessarily know the people, you kind of want to know the people, and you want to like have that connection. So I don't have a specific answer for you yet, but I'd love to ruminate on this, on how you could have, like, the biggest concert that was also the most intimate.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe pyrotechnics and flashing lights and all that jazz is cool, but I think there's a more emotional, personal, maybe method here that hasn't necessarily been explored.
Right. Definitely.
Unless you can think of something that fits that bill, in which case I'd love to know.
Not yet, my friend. Not yet.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh, such a shame.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things you just have to sit and ponder, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe like a band mobile. You could sort of drive through the crowd like the Pope. That'd be fun, right?
Yeah. That'll definitely get you on the front covers of
yes,
Hall,
somebody would
magazines.
print an article about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Flaming Lips used to do a thing where they would roll out on top of the crowd in hamster balls. Or maybe it was just a singer. Maybe they still do that.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Oh, you got to look it up. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was like his thing. They used to blow up this giant hamster ball, and the lead singer would get in it and just roll on top of the mosh pit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to check that out. That's crazy. All right, Cale, man, I sincerely want to thank you for doing this interview with us, man. It's been fun talking to you.
Oh, man, you must be joking. It has been an honor for me.
I would actually tell you how many people are online with this. I didn't want to. I usually say at the beginning of the show, but I didn't want to make you nervous or anything. But before we do the hot seat, I'll let you know. So, everything that I've seen, read, and heard shows that you truly embody the inspiration and freedom of creating your music. Even from your profile picture, it's very creative. It speaks volumes for what you are about, your music. And I can definitely see a very, very strong future ahead of you. So again, thank you, man, for joining us. It's
thank you. It's been really a pleasure.
Definitely, man. So here's our long-standing tradition of offering our guests the Vigilantes Radio open floor at the end of our interviews, and it lets you mention, say, or talk about anything else you wanted to, maybe something that grinds your gear, or something that you want to rant about that we didn't cover this time around in the interview. Anything at all is all up to you. All the best to you and Gravity Well.
Okay. So it's just the open floor right now?
Yes, sir. It is now officially the Cale Bonderman Show.
Okay. Oh man, this is so funny because I was trying to figure out what the hot seat was earlier, and if I had known that it was just a vehicle for my insane late night ramblings, I probably would have come up with something more interesting. But I would love to take this opportunity to just say thank you so much to Vigilantes Radio and to you, Dini, and to my amazing parents who have encouraged me and supported me through everything, and my wonderful girlfriend, Tamsin. Shout out, my love. And, of course, incredible band, the Gravity Well, Utaka, Jake, Brian, and Anthony. And to you who are listening, and I hope have maybe learned something or have something you want to say to me, I'd love to talk to you. So if you have any questions, please email me. I'm reachable at cb@caleandthegravitywell.com. And I'll give you a little rant just because I'm here, and who doesn't love a good rant? Pandas, I don't really get the hype around pandas. And I'll give you a couple of reasons, okay? Because yes, they're cute, but they are designed to fail. They are bears, and they eat bamboo, which is about as nutritious as eating pavement, which is why they have to sleep 20 hours a day. That is not an apex predator, my friend. That is the setup to fail. And the thing is, they don't even have to. They have the guts to eat meat, to eat berries, to eat anything else, and no, they choose to eat bamboo. And they're one of the only animals that does worse at reproducing in captivity. And researchers have tried everything. They have tried Viagra. And it turns out that pandas are immune to Viagra. Who would know? We would know now. And you may be wondering why I'm so obsessed with this. It grinds my gears, man. I don't know. I don't get it. The only reason that we like and help save, or the only reason we put so much effort into saving the panda is that effort helps save a whole bunch of otherwise neglected species like tree frogs and other things that live near pandas, which I don't actually know of at this moment. And now that I have managed to wrap this interview up by making a complete idiot of myself, I would love to let you go.
No, man, I've actually learned something. I didn't know the panda was such a useless animal. Wow.
Oh, man, you have, they're dumb. And they roll over on their babies. Who does that? Who does that? Terrible parents.
Down with the pandas. Wow.
Down with the panda.
All right.
I
So
hope I
now
don't
it's
get
time
a
to put a
call
little
from
pressure.
PETA. Oh, yeah?
Oh, they'll send it to me, man. I get tons of hate.
Yeah,
mail,
okay. I just gave my email out, so.
Yeah, man. Get ready for the weirdos.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. All right, so it's time to put the pressure on you, man. We have a little over 27,000 online.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, the conversation has actually been interesting, man. Very insightful. Man, you're just a true professional, man.
Thank
all
you.
the way around. All the way around.
Well, I very much appreciate that. You too.
Yeah, man.
It's
So
been
all
really great to talk to you.
Yeah, man, you too, man. So all 27,000 of you guys, make sure you email him. Bombard
Yeah.
his inbox.
Yeah, please, blow me up.
Just playing. But yeah, hit him up. So, all right, after the music break, it'll be time for our usual tradition. It is called the hot seat, and our fans love this part of the segment, and of course, along with the actual interview, but the audience gets to hear either some vocals, maybe a poem, inspirational speech, written work, spoken word, maybe Cale can freestyle rap, who knows, recite lyrics, musical tributes, karaoke, jokes, stories, even live instruments from our special guests. Well, you never know what these creative minds and vessels will produce in the spotlight. And tonight, we'll find out if Cale Bonderman have what it takes to be put on the spot, a test of his true artistry, and maybe even some hidden talents. But before that, we will cut to some music. Here is Cale with his song Interlude, Absolum.
Fear snaked out of my mouth like a murder in the sweaty cloth in the night all unseen. Strapping band, the catch in the wire, piece of all the terrors yet to be. How do you deal with the size of the sky or the scale that waits underfoot and a dream? Old as I am, forever disturbed from a slumber I did not intend to leave. I saw you there, that stoic stare. Was it empty? Was it storming? Do you know the climb? How steep, how high? When you rise up in the morning. Should have asked you if you'd do it all again. Keep the mountain, keep the drive, oh, keep the land, keep the climb. How steep, how high? When you rise up in the morning. Lonesome, dark, what a crowd, what a wedding. Come join the dance, here we saved you a seat. When the lights go out, when your tongue is a wasteland, sit or stand, we'll take you from your feet. Gone now, dimmed as the bells went to shedding. The clap of poor fate, the thump in my skin, just as deep as it'll ever be buried, so I could pick it, stab it with a pin. Were you always there? Yes, always there. Did you issue any warning? Who hold your gaze? What thing, what place when you rise up in the morning? If I asked you if you'd do it all again, you would say it didn't weigh on you like that climb is high in the dead of night, but you rise up in the morning.
Gentlemen, cats and dogs and aliens who are listening, that was a rather beautiful song by Cale. It's called Interlude, Absolum. I think I pronounced that wrong, but we'll find out in just a second. Man, I can actually see that in a theater. What do you guys think? Like a play? You know? Beautiful, beautiful. So I received an email about how do I need an artist manager? All right. So, I mean, in a nutshell, music is business. You are the business. And if you have business going on for you, then yes, you need someone to help you manage your business or yourself. So if you're a musician, chances are you have considered getting management. After all, everyone knows the names of music managers who are just about as famous as the artists who they work for. And it's true that a band manager can help open some doors for you, but how high on your to-do list should find a music manager should be? First, you should know that there are things a manager can bring to the table even very early on in your career. You say, what? Yeah, it's true. In the beginning stages of your music career, the biggest thing an artist manager can offer you is the chance to focus on your music. Like, how cool would that be if I didn't have to think about posting on Facebook or updating like profiles and tweeting this and emailing this out? It would be just so awesome to just focus on writing music, right? But hey, it's the world we live in. After all, they don't call it the music business for nothing. There's a lot of hard work that goes into building a music career. Take it from Dini, man, I know. For musicians, juggling all of those responsibilities of getting a career off the ground while trying to stay creative is a struggle. You'll rip your hair out. I'm bald now. Like, really, you should look at my profile. Bald head. Choice, though. Anyway, often musicians find themselves chasing down promoters or pitching to journalists all day long at the expense of practicing, writing new songs, or recording. A manager can take all of that pressure off by handling the business side of things so that the musician or artist can get to focus on being creative, which is actually the end goal. And of course, in addition to being someone who can take care of some of your business-related responsibilities, a good manager is one who has some contacts that can help you in your music career. Maybe they should contact some labels or some promoters or agents or the press and so on. This is where it gets tricky, though, in weighing how important a manager could be for you. So finding a manager who meets both of these criteria takes one thing, and that is often in a short supply for up-and-coming musicians. Money, like money. Couldn't even get that. Oh, wow. Gonna have to edit that out, boys. Okay. The bottom line is this. If you're just getting started in the music industry and you're still at the stage you were looking at for a label, just start, playing shows and so on. You shouldn't divert money from doing things like recording or promoting your music to hire a, quote, big money manager. So more on that on our next podcast. I don't want to take up all the time with all the, business mumbo jumbo that we all need to know. So that means you'll have to tune into next show. Yeah, click and bait. All right, so let's get back to the man of the hour, Cale. Okay, that didn't work. Here we go. All right, there you go. Cale.
Hey, how are you?
All right, man. So what do you have for us tonight?
So if I understand you correctly, what this is I'm just supposed to kind of give you some kind of show of creative.
Right, yes.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I thought I could maybe try and do... So, there was, I feel like this was more popular a couple years ago than now. But a couple years ago, there was this trend where people, like really great singers, especially on YouTube, would take raps, or they would take stuff that was not in their genre, like hip hop a lot, and they would do singing covers of it.
Yeah.
And I thought I could try and do something from the Gorillaz for you.
Awesome.
If my memory holds up. So here's going to be my best translational attempt at the rap part from Dirty Harry. Do it, and I guess I just go, right?
Oh yeah, you just go.
All right. In my backpack, I keep my act right in case you act quite difficult. And yo, it's a weekend when anger and discontent, some are seeking and searching like Nimoy. I'm a peace-loving decoy ready for retaliation. Change your whole equation to a pine box thunder, cause of the last wild wonder. Orders given to me to strike, and I'm thunder with lightning-fast reflexes. On constant alert from this constant hurt that seems limited with its no dropping pressure. Seems like everybody out to test you till they see a break. You can't conceal the hate that consumes you. I'm the reason that you feel you're a Zoozer. Chill with your old lady at the till. I've had a 90-day visit and I'm filled with some things that I've seen. Your water's from a bottle, mine's from a canteen. A night of the shot rings where I'm a white sleeper. Call the light seems to get cheaper. Out in the desert with my street sweeper. The war is over, so said the speaker with the flight suit on. Baby, to him I'm just a pawn, so we can advance. Remember when I used to dance? All I want to do is dance.
All right, now watch out, Drake. He has to sing in the rhymes.
Actually, no, don't watch out, Drake. Call me, Drake. Drake, if you need somebody, call me.
Yeah, that would be the thing. Yeah.
That would be the thing to do.
All right, man. That was cool, man.
How long is this session? Is that it, or we just keep doing this all night?
If you want to.
Man, I don't know if I got anything else. I think at this point I'd just like to give a shout out to Paul Simon for being the best lyricist ever.
Oh yeah.
I think I'll leave it at that.
Oh yeah. Man, it's been wonderful, man. It's been wonderful.
It has been so fun, Dini.
Oh yeah.
I hope that you'll have me back sometime, and I hope that I'll get loads and loads and loads of missives from who are these 27,000 people? That blows my mind. I can't wait to meet them.
Oh yeah, man. The funny thing is, man, like when I started this podcast, I started out with one listener for like a very long time, and then and we grew the show, man, like over a 3-year period. Like we started bringing celebs on and just, trying to do the best interviews as possible, and like the word just spread, and then it's crazy how it happened. Crazy. I'm still not over it.
All that means is that you are truly the real deal.
Well, I mean, like you said earlier, man, we do things, and hopefully we're still learning along the way. So I'm still trying to, learn more and be better than I was last year, and those type of things. But thank you, man. Thank you.
Of course. Keep fighting the good fight.
Oh, yeah.
Ever upward.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out the podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab that from Spreaker.com, iTunes, YouTube, as well as our website, which is onlyonemediagroup.com. We're on iHeartRadio, but for some reason there's a holdup on a lot of things. Like, I don't know what the deal is. We'll contact them though and get it right. We're also on the app called Podcast Addict. You can stream, download, bootleg, sharing is caring. I don't care as long as you listen. And that goes for every single episode that we've ever aired. If you'd like to request music or a particular guest or send something for us to play, email it to me at theradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. We have an all music night where we just pump music and let you know about the artist as well. So a lot of people get fans that way, and new listeners and new buddies and all that type of cool thing. And we also have a show called Skeptics. So, Cale, this is an invitation to you, man. If you like to talk about weird things like spirituality or aliens or gemstones or psychic powers.
Oh, pandas are just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah,
So.
even pandas, like, that is definitely the show to be a part of. It gets crazy on that show, but
I would love to be on that show.
All right, man. I'll keep that in mind and
You just
send
let
you
me
an
know.
invitation. Yeah.
Please.
All right, here's my disclaimer. We are genre-free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, you can scratch that disclaimer because all of my opinions are always right. This is my show. The bottom line, you got to deal with that. Nah, just kidding. On behalf of myself, dini-mussolini, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word because sharing is caring. And also a special thanks to our guest tonight, Cale Bonderman from the Gravity Well Band, for joining us tonight. We stepped up our game just so you guys and our guests will have the best experience here on our show. You never know, Dini may just end up on a song. I do it all, my friends. Well, just remember to be yourself and be absolutely freaking great at just doing that. Peace, and make sure you have a wonderful night.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds, of the duo No Longer the Hero. Co-hosted by the Vigilantes Banditti. Call in to join the mix. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com.